I want to talk about your business email, not marketing email, but the regular email you use on a day-to-day basis to send emails to your colleagues and correspond with your clients. Now, we have all been brainwashed into believing that we must spend $8 to $20 per month per user as we spoon feed our data into an algorithm that will use it to market back to us, because self-hosting your email is for crazy people. Surely a regular person would never consider self-hosting their business email unless they were a spammer, because everyone knows that self-hosted email ends up in the spam box, right? I mean, that's what I thought before I started doing it about 2 years ago. A few years later, and I'm even doing it for many of my clients to great success. It hasn't been a straight line of success though. There's been ups and downs along the way. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what those obstacles are so that you can avoid them. Sound good? Let's get into it. Now, before we do that, I wanna welcome a brand new sponsor to the channel. Every email address is going to need a domain name. That's why Porkbun.com is the perfect sponsor for today's video. Named the #1 registrar by USA Today and Forbes, right now, Porkbun has a special low price of less than $6 for the first year of your next .app or .dev domain name. This is ideal for developers, web designers, engineers, and anyone in tech. .app and .dev domains are powered by Google Registry and perfect for your latest projects. Showcase your world-changing application on .app and then use .dev for your blog, documentation, and more. Plus, all .app and .dev domains are on the HSTS preload list for heightened security that benefits you and your site visitors. As always, Porkbun domains come with loads of freebies like SSL certificates, Whois privacy, URL forwarding, and hosting trials. With deals like this, backed by personalized support from real humans 365 days a year, it is no wonder tech pros and enthusiasts are making the switch from places like GoDaddy and choosing Porkbun instead. To get the first year of your next .app or .dev domain for under $6, click the link in the description. My thanks to Porkbun for sponsoring today's video. All right, when it comes to self-hosting your email, of course, we are going to need some tools and some software. Let's break this all down before we get into the nitty-gritty. First of all, we're going to need a server to host our email server. I'm going to grab one over on Hetzner for a very particular reason. That reason is that they're pretty lenient about letting you use port 25, which is required for sending emails. So we're going to work around this. If you can't get a server on Hetzner, I'll show you some other options, or even if you do and you have deliverability issues, I'll show you some other options in a little bit. We're going to be using Cloudron as our server stack here. Cloudron is self-hosted software. It's not open source, but the tools we're going to need are available in their free plan. You might find, like I did, that you like Cloudron so much, you end up paying for it on a monthly or annual basis, but it's certainly not required to self-host your business email. The tools that are baked into Cloudron, you don't really need to know this, but I think it's worth calling them out. Dovecot is the IMAP server. So when it comes to email, I think it gets confusing because there's all of these acronyms. Basically, IMAP is what is going out and actually getting the email delivered to your inbox, whatever mail app you want to use. We can use a web interface. You can use your phone's built-in mail app. That's all going to be just fine. It's going to connect to your IMAP server, in this case, Dovecot, pull the messages in so that you can read them just like any other email address. The IMAP server, by the way, is actually very, very reliable. Like, there's no issues with deliverability on your site, getting the messages into you. When people think about self-hosting email and all the trouble that comes up, it's mostly the email going out. We're going to be using some software called Haruka for that. That's an SMTP server. Now, again, you don't need to really worry about configuring any of this. I'm going to show you exactly what to do inside of the Cloudron interface. So it's not going to be technical. We're not going to be looking at a command line, at least not for very long after we get Cloudron launched. But just know that these are the tools under the hood. They are open source projects, and you should definitely support them if you want to see them flourish and grow. We're also going to need access to your DNS records. Now, what I like to do is actually connect up my DNS provider directly to Cloudron via an API. I usually use Cloudflare for my DNS records. So if you just grabbed your domain over on Porkbun, connect it up to Cloudflare, because then you can take advantage of of things like their caching, which is really powerful, and you can also follow along when we connect up the API connections. If you don't know how to use Cloudflare and you're trying to figure out how to buy your domains one place and then manage them over on Cloudflare, that's actually the setup I recommend. I know Cloudflare sells domains, but I don't recommend doing that because it's just nice to have some separation. If you're looking for some help with that, leave me a comment down below and I'll make a video explaining how all of that works. Now let's get started. I'm gonna spin up a server over on Hetzner. Now, if you've got a brand new Hetzner server, just know that it's going to take a little bit of time in order for them to fully trust your brand new account. If you want to open up port 25, you'll actually have to have a server that's being paid for a couple of months before they trust you enough to open up that port, because they don't want people signing up and just sending gobs of spam through their servers. In terms of the server specs, well, that's really up to what you plan on doing with the server. If it's a small company, you just have a few email addresses, you can get by with a pretty small box. But if you want to run other applications, maybe your website, all on that same server, totally doable. Just know that you might need a little beefier of a plan. You can always scale up as needed, so don't worry about that too much right now. When it comes to choosing the specs for your server, you can be pretty conservative here. Cloudron itself requires 2 gigs of RAM and 20 gigabytes of storage, so just about any server on Hetzner's page here is gonna do. Most importantly, choose the correct OS version. So right now it's Ubuntu 24.04, but the best way to find the currently supported OS whenever you're watching this video is to go to Cloudron's website, click on the install button, and it's gonna say so right here on the very first line of the page. So back over in Hetzner, I'm gonna go ahead and size up my server here. So if I was going the shared CPU route, you can see even their €4.49 plan is going to meet the requirements of 2 gigs of RAM. I always like to go for a dedicated CPU, especially if I'm gonna be hosting any other applications on this box. Sure, we can host our email, but we could also host our website or other self-hosted software here. Once you get used to the Cloudron interface, it's kind of addictive to try out new self-hosted tools. So start with dedicated because it's really easy to scale this up, and their bottom plan is only about €13 per month. And check it out, for €13, we get 2 vCPUs and 8 gigs of RAM. We're gonna have a pretty beefy server here. Next up is SSH keys. If you're comfortable with SSH keys, you can attach them here, but if you're not, don't let this hold you up. It's going to email you root password if you don't attach an SSH key. It's not as good as using SSH, but certainly don't let it stop you here. If you don't understand SSH, make a note that's something you want to study, or drop me a line down below and maybe I'll make a video about it if I get enough response. Then scrolling down, you're gonna see a firewall section here. Firewalls are pretty important as well. I'm not gonna go into great detail on this video about configuring it. It's not essential that you do, but I recommend going through the process of opening up the correct ports that Cloudron recommends. What I will do is include a link to this part of their documentation, which outlines all of the ports that they'd like you to open up. This is also something you can handle a little bit later on down the road. So if you just want to get your server up and running, you can skip this part for now, but again, make a note to come back to it later on. I do recommend turning on backups. This is going to add 20% to the cost of your server, but then you've got a server level backup storing everything on the entire server. If you don't want to do this, you can rely on the Cloudron backups. Those are great as well, but I am definitely a more backups is always better type of person, so I will do backups here as well as over on Cloudron. Then we are almost done. Let's just go ahead and give our server a name. I'm gonna call it Server Savant Cloudron because I'm gonna use Server Savant domain name with this. Let's go ahead and hit create and buy now, and our server is spinning up. And now that our server is up and running, let's click on the public IP address to copy that to our clipboard and open up our terminal. Now, if you don't know how to use terminal on your computer, you could go into the server itself and just open up the console right here. That's totally fine, but just know that copy and paste is a little bit more difficult if you can get it to work at all through the web interface. And I think if you're gonna be messing around with self-hosted software, checking out doing some command line stuff is really not that scary. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch the terminal on Mac OS. Now I've already got my terminal open here, but in order to launch this, just press Command space and start typing terminal. It should pop up the first result, and then it'll look something like this. Of course, it'll have your username and your computer's name after it. It's very similar on Windows. Just go ahead ahead and search some internet directions on how to run the terminal, because I haven't used a Windows box in probably a decade. We're almost done with the installation part. All you need to do is type SSH space and then root at, and then paste in that IP address. It's gonna go ahead and ask us if we want to continue connecting, basically just checking for security here. We'll say yes, and then it's gonna ask for our root password. That's gonna be available to you inside of your email inbox, assuming that you did not connect up your SSH key. If you did all that, it'll just log you in directly. That's kind of the beauty of the SSH system. I've got my password ready to go, so I'm gonna paste it in. If you don't see anything, that's okay. It's not gonna show you like stars or anything. It doesn't do that. It's totally blank. And just go ahead and hit return. And we are now logged into our server. So back over on Cloudron.io, just go ahead and select these 3 lines of text, go back to your terminal window, paste that in, and just wait a few moments. Cloudron is gonna go ahead and get set up. All right, when the installation process is complete, it's going to ask you to reboot the server. Go ahead and say yes or hit enter to do that. And after this, we are done with the command line. It's gonna tell you here that you're gonna connect via the IP address next. So just go ahead and copy this and then head over to your browser. Just give it a moment. If it doesn't work right away, just think about how long it would take if you shut down your computer and then started it up again. That's the reboot process. So it's not magic. It's gonna take maybe 35 to 45 seconds for that to happen. But as you can see here, I am now connecting up to the IP address and I get a scary message that the connection is not private. Don't worry, this is just temporary. Go ahead and hit show details here, and then we can visit the website by clicking on the link right here. It's gonna ask, are you sure this is not secure? It's all right, nobody's stealing your data. Now we've got our GUI. The next thing we're gonna do is connect up our DNS settings so that we can actually manage this thing. So in my case, I'm gonna use the domain name serversavant.com, and I'm also going to connect up my DNS provider. You can see it supports a ton of different DNS providers here, including the sponsor of today's video, Porkbun, but I mentioned before I like to use Cloudflare because then I can utilize their caching mechanism for other things. If you're only going to use this server just strictly for email hosting, you can connect it directly to Porkbun. There's really no issues there at all. But if you might be running a website or any other applications that would benefit from caching, well, then definitely connect it up to Cloudflare. The free plan on Cloudflare is completely fine for our purposes, by the way. You don't need to sign up for one of their paid plans. For the token type, I always like to choose an API token, and then I'm gonna go ahead and enter in the API token here after I create it. So once you're logged into Cloudflare on the overview screen, just scroll down until you see API over here, and then choose the option to get your API token. This is actually just taking you out to the account level. So if you're inside of a specific domain, it's gonna take you out to the account level where you can actually create your token. I'll click right up here to create the token. This is going to be a custom token, so we'll click right here to get started. We'll give this token a name like Server Savant Cloudron. And then we just need to add in a couple permission rules here. So first one's gonna be zone. So our second option is also zone, and then it's going to be read. The next option is going to be zone DNS and edit. Now I know giving permission to edit your DNS seems a little bit scary, but just know that there are a lot of warnings on Cloudron itself so that you'll never actually overwrite any existing DNS records. That was a real fear of mine when I started using this platform. Like I was already using another hosting service for our main website, and I didn't want it messing with the DNS. That just seemed like too much. But once I started to trust it, it actually is a beautiful system. So go ahead and give it a try. This is optional, by the way. You can choose manual management, and I'll show you where that option is after I get my API key issued here. So I'm going to continue to the summary. Oh, by the way, for zone resources, I'm going to include only the specific zone that I want, which is going to be serversavant.com. Let's go ahead and continue to the summary here, create the token, and then I will copy this, and back over on my installation window, I will just paste the token in. Now, if you don't want to use DNS management, you can go to the DNS provider and just choose manual. You'll see it says not recommended, and I agree with that. Definitely set this up. It is way better of an experience to have DNS all just handled for you, but if you're nervous about it, you could start at manual and add it in later. There is a checkbox here to enable proxying, aka caching, on Cloudflare for new DNS records, I recommend leaving this off. It's just easier to turn this on for applications that need it rather than to always recommend to turn it off for applications that don't. So I'm gonna leave it unchecked for now. Go ahead and hit next here. And what it's gonna do is actually create the first record for me so that I can log into my Cloudron interface at my.serversavant.com. So you can see here, it's already waiting for propagation of the new DNS record it created for me so that I can actually access Cloudron and get my email set up. This does take a little bit of time as well, so just be patient, hang tight, it will reload, even if it seems like it's taking forever. All right, here we go. We are logged in. Now, this is gonna be our first lesson about configuring email inside of Cloudron. There is a username and password scenario in Cloudron. You might expect that. It's a web application, so we're gonna have to authenticate some way. The email that you set up here, or the username that you set up here, can be tied to multiple email addresses inside of Cloudron. So basically, everyone that's going to have email is going to need to also have an ID from Cloudron. If that's confusing, just hang tight. We'll see it later on and it will click together and make more sense. But just keep in mind that your username here is going to be tied to the email addresses you add in later on. We can actually add multiple domains under this one interface, so it doesn't just have to be a single domain. It's really a very powerful system. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna hit create admin, and now Cloudron is ready to use. I can proceed to the dashboard, and you can see I am using my domain name, even though I never changed anything over on Cloudflare. I think that alone is pretty exciting. All right, Cloudron is now installed and ready for use. The first thing it does is prompts us to install some apps. And if you click on the App Store link, it asks you to log in. You can create a totally free Cloudron account, install up to 2 applications at no cost. And I do recommend taking the time to do this. I'm gonna log into my account now so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here's the Cloudron App Store. This video, by the way, is in no way associated with Cloudron. I just really like the software. I don't have any financial involvement in this platform at all. But you might want to browse around here and see what self-hosted software is now very easy for you to install, backup, update. I mean, they really handle it all for you. For now, we don't really need any applications installed, but I do want to show you this main part of Cloudron because I feel like it would be doing it a disservice to not show you all of the tools that it supports. Where we do want to spend most of the rest of our time is over here under our user profile and then going to email. It's going to go ahead and show us all of the domains we have connected up to our Cloudron right here. And currently I just have the one domain. One of the powerful things about this infrastructure is that we can literally add as many domains as we want. There are no limitations. You are managing your own server. So if you run out of resources, just go ahead and increase those resources. So right now I've just got the one domain. If I wanted to add additional domains, that is again under the user avatar and then under domains, just go ahead and add a domain, connect up your DNS management system. It could be Cloudflare, it could be anything else. They'll have independent credentials on a domain basis. And then you can create email addresses for all of your domains. But back over to the email settings here, you notice there is a red dot next to our domain. That's because things are not fully configured yet. Right now, it's only set for outbound email. And email gets kind of confusing when we're talking about outbound and inbound and authentication. So we're gonna go through these settings now and hopefully explain them enough so you don't have to worry about them ever again. So if I hit the pencil icon right here, it's gonna show me my inboxes or my mailboxes. So I don't currently have any because my incoming email is disabled. I'm not actually receiving email through Cloudron. So I need to click right here to turn that on. It's gonna go ahead and create all of the necessary DNS settings to authenticate me by just hitting enable. This is part of the power of using that API connection. I don't really need to worry about setting up anything. It's gonna make sure everything is set up properly. Now, in order to see what they did, of course, I can click over on status and I can also just check out the records over in Cloudflare. But right now we're looking pretty good, but yet still incomplete. So our DKIM and SPF records, those are authentication for sending emails. Those currently have green checkboxes, as well as our DMARC record. Again, that is related to sending emails. These are all authentication protocols. Our outbound SMTP, that is also working, but we've got some other issues. Our MX record is actually not working because I'm currently using a different provider, so it's not going to overwrite that and screw up my email. Things like DKIM, SPF, and DMARC are more additive, like we can use sending from multiple places. Think about it this way. If we relate email to physical mail, you can mail things from any number of post offices or mailboxes that you see around your city. You can just drop a letter in that mailbox and it will get picked up and delivered properly. As far as incoming mail, well, we don't generally get mail delivered any other place than our home or our office where we've registered to receive that email. So incoming mail is very specific, and that's going to be the MX record. It doesn't want to screw that up because then emails that were expected somewhere else might come to the wrong location. Back over in Cloudflare, I've just searched for MX, and I can see that I do in fact have two existing MX records. So one is for Google and one is for the new server. I'm gonna go ahead and delete the Google record so that I can get email sent to my new server. So just simply click delete, confirm, and then you can go back and recheck over on your Cloudron instance. So here we are back over in Cloudron after having updated those DNS records. There is this little retry button here. If I click that, it's gonna go ahead and try to validate the DNS again. Now it hasn't updated quite yet. That's okay. Sometimes this takes a minute or two to actually get propagated throughout the internet. In the meantime, we've got a few other issues to attend to. One is our PTR4 and PTR6 record. These are actually records we need to update over on Hetzner. There's not an API connection here, so we have to do it manually. If I click on this, it's gonna tell me the exact record that it wants to see. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this right here, just my domain name. And then over in Hetzner, under networking, I can see those DNS entries right here. I'm gonna go ahead and edit the existing one. So edit reverse DNS. And then I'm gonna paste in my domain name right here. And then there's also a PTR6 record, which is like an IPv6 record. We don't need to worry about the specifics here, but basically we've got a host name and an expected value here. So really the important part is going to be the ::1. You can see here IPv6 has no entries. So if I go ahead and edit the reverse DNS, I just need to enter in that ::1. And for the reverse DNS, I need to enter in my serversavant.com. I'll hit edit reverse DNS and then just refresh the page here if it doesn't automatically update. And there you go. You can see the correct record is displayed. So now I can go ahead and redo each of these failed records and hopefully they all come back as green check marks. The MX record did, the IPv6 record did, but unfortunately the IPv4 still has not propagated yet. So just give it a few minutes. It does say that it could take, 5 minutes or so. Go ahead and hit refresh after it's been a little bit of time and hopefully you get all of the green lights. There we go. We are looking good. Now we are almost ready to have a fully configured email server. That's really all there is to it, except we've got this issue down here that our IP address is on a block list, which is the primary reason that people throw tantrums anytime they talk about self-hosting emails. So this is a real issue and something that you need to deal with. Now, if you click on this, it's going to tell you what the actual problem is. So we're currently on a block list from Barracuda. So I can click on the Barracuda link and then it's going to go ahead and give me a form to request removal. Now, here's what's going on. A lot of times these IP addresses are reused over and over again, and maybe a previous user was sending out spam. So typically all it takes is to send a short message like this, just requesting removal from their block list. And often it's done, as you can see here, within 12 hours. So go ahead and give it a try. I think you'll be surprised how easy it is to actually get off of these block lists, especially if you're sending out valid email. Now, what I recommend doing here is just going over to your favorite LLM, explain the situation to them, and have them write the message for you. Something like, write a message to get off the Barracuda block list for a newly acquired IP address for my business. We will be sending regular business emails and follow all spam laws. Then go ahead and submit the request. It's going to output a very nice message, and typically that does the trick. Here we go. I've got my message. I'm just simply going to copy and paste this right into the form, and we should be good to go in about 12 hours. Make sure you don't leave any signs of AI in the message. That probably wouldn't be a good sign. All right, I sent in the request and got the confirmation, but this does bring up a point. It's a little bit of the luck of the draw. Sometimes you get an IP address and it's completely clean and you can just begin using it right away. Other times you need to wait for things to actually go ahead and get removed after you send off requests. You could always just try again and go through the process in Hetzner, but I find it easier just to request removal from the block list. You'll also want to check regularly to make sure that you're not being blocked from email addresses in the future. One way around this is to use a relay. A relay is when you use another provider, perhaps a more trusted provider with a better reputation, to send out the emails, but incoming emails are all self-hosted. To do this in Cloudron is dead simple. Simply go to the Outbound tab here. Right now we have our built-in SMTP server. SMTP is outgoing. So if we want to change this, we could use an external server. You could connect up something like Amazon SES, Elastic Email, Mailgun. I've used all of these and they all work really well. Amazon SES is my favorite right now just because it's dirt cheap. So if you've got an SES account, go ahead and set it up. Just copy and paste your username and password that you create in your SMTP credentials into this box, and you'll be able to send all of your outgoing messages relayed through SES. It's currently, I believe, 10 cents for 1,000 emails, so it's going to be practically free. I have made several videos about setting up Amazon SES over the years. I'll link to some of those down below. They're baked into other product videos like Mautic or Fluent CRM, but the principle still stands. You'll just want to make sure that you're not using an API connection and using an SMTP credential inside of Cloudron. Okay, so email users, how does this all work? I alluded to it in the setup process, but let's go ahead and break it down. Currently, I have incoming email set up. That's good. Now my mailboxes down here are blank, so I can create as many email inboxes as I'd like. I'm gonna go ahead and choose dave@serversavant.com, and then I need to choose a mailbox owner. This can be a user like my own user account, or it could be a group, which is essentially what you think. You can add multiple users to a group inbox, and then everybody can check that inbox together. For now, let's just create this first account. So one email box assigned to one user, hit save. I think that's conceptually pretty easy. Now, if I wanted to check this email, the settings to log in are right up here under documentation, and then configuring email clients is gonna give me everything I need to log in. Connect this up through Thunderbird, Apple Mail, whatever you like, it's gonna work just fine. Now, as far as groups go, that's handled over here under users. So everybody that you want to have their own email inbox, at least one, is going to need to be a user on your Cloudron. So just go ahead and hit new user. They do have a role that's just user and email manager if you want someone in control of this, but otherwise either user or user manager is going to be just fine. There's a dedicated page on roles inside of Cloudron. If you want to make sure that you give the right amount of permissions, I recommend reading that. Once a user has been added, they can also be added to a group. So I could create a group called support and then add specific users. I can add multiple. I've only got one user on my Cloudron, but I can add multiple users to this group. And then when I create an email inbox, let's go back over to email and we'll create a new inbox. So under mailboxes, we'll hit add and I'll call it support. Now I can match this with the group support, and anybody I add to that group is going to be able to log in and check that inbox. Pretty cool. So to be clear, multiple people could log into the email for support@serversavant.com using separate passwords depending on who is actually logging in. Now, what about email deliverability? How is that actually going to be? Keep in mind, we're still on an IP block list here. Well, let's just run a simple mail tester test. So here's mailtester.com. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And then on the main email screen, keep in mind, we're still red here because we're on a block list. I'm going to hit the send test email button. I will paste in the email tester email address here and go ahead and hit send. Back over in email tester, I'm going to check my score, give it a few seconds here, and we'll see how we do. All right, we got an 8.3 out of 10, but wait, it's not that bad. If we look at the spam assassin message here, it actually deducted quite a bit, about 3 points here because it was a short email. The test email just says test email. So that is the major deduction that we're actually experiencing. We're properly authenticated. The message itself could be improved again because it's so dinky, and we're on one block list. So it's Barracuda right here. As soon as we get off of that, we'll have a perfect 10 out of 10 email deliverability. Now, what about spam? Will you receive a lot of spam messages? Services like Google are really good about filtering out spam so it doesn't hit your inbox. The answer is yeah, you probably will get some spam, at least at first, but don't worry, it's completely solvable. There is spam filtering baked right in. Just go right over here, and then you can add in your own custom spam assassin rules. Now, you might be saying, but Dave, I don't know how to write spam assassin rules. That's totally okay. What I recommend doing is just going over to your friendly LLM, Claude, Grok, ChatGPT, whatever you prefer, and ask them to write the rules for you. Simply describe the types of emails you're getting, or even copy and paste some of the information, and then have them write the rules, paste them in here, and you will find that all of your spam magically goes away. Well, I mean, it doesn't go away magically. It's just incoming spam will be sent to your spam box. The stuff that's already in your inbox will kind of just sit there until you delete it. Okay, so we're almost done here, but what about checking your email from a web interface? Let's go ahead and install a web client so you can check your email from anywhere. We're gonna head to the App Store. And if we hit the category selector here, we can go to email, and we've got 3 webmail clients to choose from: SnappyMail, Roundcube, or SoGo. You can ignore these other 2, they're for email marketing. They're both great applications on their own, but they're not what we're after for our personal webmail experience. So I'm gonna install Roundcube. I've always been partial to this, but you can try out all of them and see which you like. I'm gonna install it at mail.serversavant.com. I can make it visible to all Cloudron users or restrict it to only certain users if I prefer. Let's go ahead and hit install here, and in just moments, I will have Roundcube up and running, and I'll be able to send and receive emails right from the web browser. So this is what it looks like when an application is installing on Cloudron. It literally takes 30 to 40 seconds for everything to install, and then the DNS to propagate, get your SSL certificate issued, and you're ready to go. All right, just like that, it is running. I'll click on it, and now I can log in. Now, when logging in, you're always gonna wanna use your email address, not your username from Cloudron, because that can be tied to different email addresses. You can have 5 email addresses tied to one username. So use the specific email that you want to check. As far as the password goes, that will be the password for your Cloudron account. So that makes sense? Good. Here we go. We are logged in, and I can send and receive emails right here inside of Roundcube. Very nice. And why not just test deliverability one more time here? I'm gonna have Claude write me a email deliverability test message. So this is looking pretty good and lengthy. We shouldn't be penalized for length this time around. I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this in. Even gave me a nice subject line here. Let's go ahead and send this off. All right, message was sent successfully. I can check my score, 9.5 out of 10, deducted 0.5 for the block list, and we'll be off of that within a few days. So if you do decide to go ahead and try this out, a few things. First of all, make sure you keep an eye on the logs over the first few weeks and maybe check them every month or so going forward, just to make sure there are no errors creeping up and a particular sender didn't decide to just block your domain for no reason at all. You can go up here to email, same place we've been the whole video, and then go to event log, and you'll get basically a log of all of the events that have happened. So we can see our test emails that have been sent out here. But if I click inside of the types of events, I can look for bounced emails. I can look for denied or any sort of errors, marked spam. We'll definitely want to see those just to keep an eye on things. You might find that you need to send a few emails or send off a few forms to make sure that your emails hit the inbox. This is all eliminated, by the way, if you use something like Amazon SES for sending of the emails. If you really want to self-host yourself, then it's just going to take a little bit of oversight, but it's really not the end of the world. I will add that if you have a very small company and you're not really using that much email, it's just going to be easier to set up the relay, because the smaller the company, the fewer the emails that are going through the IP address, the harder it's going to be to maintain a really good reputation. You're going to find you're just going to save yourself so much time by going through a relay rather than just literally every day needing to check to see which email didn't get delivered because you're the only one sending 4 emails a week. It's not worth it at that point. The other thing I want you to do is if you do decide to try self-hosting your own email server, leave me a comment down below. Let me know how it goes, good or bad. If you run into any trouble that wasn't addressed in this video, I want to know about it so that maybe I can help you out or even make a video to help other people as well. It's going to do it for this video. My thanks again to Porkbun for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check their link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.